What really got this escalated, so that was called a flagrant. Those two were technicals. Charles got a technical, and then Mabry for what we thought should have been.
Jacy Sheldon, known for her fiery passion and tenacity on the basketball court, recently found herself thrust into the spotlight amid a media frenzy following a highly publicized incident involving the WNBA's decision to escalate the punishment for Caitlin Clark after an alleged assault that occurred during a nationally televised game. The incident quickly became a focal point, sparking a wave of discussions across social media, news outlets, and sports forums. Fans, analysts, and players alike became embroiled in a heated debate over player discipline, fairness, and the integrity of the sport. This controversy raised important questions about how misconduct is handled within the league, with opinions divided on both the severity of the punishment and the role of star power. In this video, we will break down the incident, its far-reaching implications, and the aftermath of Jacy Sheldon's outspoken comments. To fully understand the gravity of the situation, we must first go back to the moment that triggered this controversy, a moment that would shake the foundations of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, widely regarded as one of the most dynamic and talked-about players in college basketball, found herself at the center of a scandal that caught everyone by surprise. During a high-stakes, nationally televised match, Clark was involved in a highly charged altercation that many saw as crossing the line between competitive play and outright aggression. What made the incident even more shocking was its intensity and the blatant disregard for the boundaries of sportsmanship. While physicality is no stranger to basketball, this altercation went beyond typical rough play. It felt like something more serious and dangerous. The WNBA, recognizing the severity of the situation, responded by taking swift action and deciding to escalate the punishment for Clark. However, the league's decision to impose a punishment that many felt was far too lenient did not sit well with Jacy Sheldon, who felt the incident warranted stronger consequences. Sheldon, who had been closely following the situation, didn't hesitate to take to social media and public forums to voice her dissatisfaction with the WNBA's handling of the matter. Known for her outspokenness and no-nonsense attitude, Sheldon made it clear that she believed the league had failed to address the issue appropriately. She argued that the punishment handed down to Caitlin Clark was far too lenient given the severity of the incident, and that the WNBA's response was inadequate. Sheldon's criticism wasn't just a passing comment, it was a passionate call for stronger action. She felt that the league had missed an opportunity to make a clear statement about player conduct and accountability. To her, the punishment should have been more reflective of the seriousness of the offense, and it was essential for the league to send a strong message to players, coaches, and fans alike about what kind of behavior is unacceptable on the court. What followed was a rapid escalation of the situation, as Jacy Sheldon's outburst gained widespread attention, stirring up both supporters and critics. Known for her direct and no-nonsense approach, Sheldon's criticism of the WNBA wasn't just a passing remark. It was a full-scale attack on the league's handling of player discipline and its broader values. She made her feelings clear, openly accusing the WNBA of prioritizing its star players over fairness and justice. Sheldon's comments were blunt and unapologetic, pointing out that the league seemed more focused on protecting its most marketable players than ensuring that all athletes were held to the same standards. She argued that the decision to overlook the gravity of Caitlin Clark's actions, seemingly in favor of her star status, was indicative of a deeper systemic issue within the sport. To Sheldon, this approach sent a dangerous message, that players with high profiles could get away with misconduct if they were popular enough, undermining the integrity of the game. Her public criticism didn't go unnoticed, quickly becoming the focal point of sports news and sparking a fierce debate. Fans, journalists, and even fellow players weighed in, each offering their perspective on the situation. Some rallied behind Sheldon, agreeing with her sentiment that the WNBA had failed to make the right call and had, in essence, allowed a serious issue to slide in favor of protecting its star players. Others, however, disagreed strongly, arguing that Sheldon was overreacting to what they saw as an isolated incident that wasn't as severe as it appeared. The debate intensified, with passionate arguments coming from all sides, and the incident became a hot topic for days to come. For Jacy Sheldon, though, this wasn't just about the punishment for Caitlin Clark. It represented something much larger. Sheldon's comments tapped into broader frustrations about the lack of consistency and fairness in how the league handles disciplinary matters. She pointed out that, in her view, the WNBA had consistently failed to hold its biggest stars accountable for their actions. This wasn't just about one player's behavior, it was about a pattern that had emerged over time. Instead of demonstrating a commitment to fairness and player safety, Sheldon argued, the league appeared more focused on maintaining the image of its top athletes. She believed that this approach sent the wrong message, especially to younger players, by implying that stardom could protect athletes from facing the consequences of their actions, which ultimately undermined the integrity of the league. As the controversy continued to unfold, Jacy Sheldon's frustration with the WNBA only grew stronger. Her remarks became more pointed, and her criticism became sharper, as she emphasized that the league's decision not only hurt the integrity of the game, but also undermined the safety of the players. For Sheldon, this issue was deeply personal. She wasn't just an outsider observing the situation, she was an active player herself, someone who had experienced firsthand how crucial it was to maintain the integrity of the game. She understood that all players, no matter their status, should be treated equally and held to the same standards of conduct. As a player, she believed that if one person's actions went unchecked, it would set a dangerous precedent for the entire league. But Sheldon's anger wasn't solely directed at the WNBA's handling of Caitlin Clark's incident. She was also frustrated by the broader culture within women's sports, where athletes were often treated as less important or less deserving of the same level of scrutiny and respect as their male counterparts. This culture, Sheldon argued, contributed to the ongoing issue of stars being protected from consequences that would have been applied to lesser-known players. Her comments were part of a larger, more significant call for change, a call for a system where women's sports were treated with the same respect, fairness, and seriousness as any other professional league. This sentiment resonated deeply with fans who were frustrated with the system's consistent favoritism toward marketable players over those who played with integrity and commitment to the sport. As Jacy Sheldon continued to make her voice heard, her comments began to spark conversations that went far beyond the initial incident, reverberating throughout the basketball community and beyond. Fans, commentators, and sports analysts started engaging in a much larger discussion about fairness in sports, questioning whether the league was truly doing enough to protect its players and ensure that no one was above the rules. Sheldon's critique, which initially focused on one player's actions, evolved into a broader conversation about the way women's sports, particularly the WNBA, handled issues of player discipline and misconduct. This shift raised important questions. Was the WNBA truly committed to creating a safe and accountable environment for its athletes? Was the league treating all players equally, regardless of their star status? These questions resonated with fans who had long been frustrated with the system's inconsistencies. Naturally, the media seized on the situation, turning it into a major story. Coverage of Jacy Sheldon's comments dominated sports news outlets, with some praising her courage and outspoken stance, while others criticized her for taking such a strong position. The debate intensified as Sheldon's words rippled through the basketball community, with more and more players, coaches, and fans voicing their opinions. Some supported Sheldon's call for tougher consequences and a more robust disciplinary system, while others defended the WNBA's decision to go easy on Clark, arguing that the incident didn't warrant such severe punishment. The polarized reactions underscored the broader divide over how to handle misconduct in women's professional sports. One of the most powerful aspects of Jacy Sheldon's commentary was her unwavering demand for consistency in how players were treated, regardless of their star status. She argued that the WNBA needed to establish clear, transparent guidelines and enforce appropriate consequences for players who engaged in behavior that was harmful to others. Sheldon believed that any act of aggression or violence on the court should be treated with the same seriousness, no matter the player's popularity or influence. In her eyes, the WNBA's failure to impose a harsh enough punishment on Caitlin Clark wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a larger, troubling pattern where star players seemed to receive preferential treatment while others were held accountable more strictly. This inconsistency, according to Sheldon, undermined the integrity of the game. This sentiment deeply resonated with many within the basketball community who shared Sheldon's concerns. There was a growing belief that the WNBA had inadvertently created an environment in which its star players could get away with actions that would result in harsher consequences for other players. Many felt that the league was failing to live up to its potential as a professional sports organization, as it seemed more focused on marketing efforts and keeping the spotlight on its biggest names rather than fostering a culture of fairness, integrity, and respect for all athletes. The growing frustration among fans and players alike suggested that the WNBA needed to take a hard look at its values and priorities moving forward. As Jacy Sheldon's criticism continued to unfold, the WNBA found itself in a difficult position, with growing scrutiny on its decision-making process. The league was now under pressure to defend its actions and explain why it had chosen the approach it did with Caitlin Clark. League officials attempted to clarify their position, stating that they had taken all relevant factors, such as the context of the incident, the player's history, and the overall circumstances, into consideration when making their decision. However, many fans, analysts, and sports commentators remained unconvinced by the league's justification. They argued that the WNBA had failed to send a strong message about player conduct, which led to widespread concerns about the integrity of the league's disciplinary system. Critics contended that the league's failure to take a firmer stance not only undermined player safety, but also contributed to a culture of leniency for star players. At the same time, Caitlin Clark's response to the situation became a significant part of the ongoing saga. While Clark issued a public apology for her actions, many felt that her apology wasn't enough to make up for the severity of the incident. The lingering question remained whether Clark's star power had influenced the WNBA's decision to impose a lighter punishment. Some critics went as far as to suggest that the WNBA was more concerned with maintaining its relationship with Clark as a marquee player, someone who was essential to the league's marketing strategy, than with upholding the core principles of fairness and accountability. Sheldon was particularly vocal about this point, arguing that the WNBA had once again demonstrated its bias toward its biggest stars, which she saw as a grave disservice to the integrity of the game. As the weeks passed, the fallout from Jacy Sheldon's comments continued to intensify, becoming a defining moment in the ongoing discourse surrounding player discipline within the WNBA. While some players publicly supported Sheldon's stance, agreeing with her call for fairness and accountability, others distanced themselves from the controversy, choosing to remain silent or offer neutral statements. This division within the player community only added fuel to the fire. The WNBA found itself facing a significant crisis of credibility, as the debate over how to handle player misconduct began to overshadow the league's broader efforts to grow and promote women's professional basketball. In many ways, Sheldon's outburst forced the league to confront some difficult questions about its priorities, particularly about its commitment to creating a level playing field where no athlete, regardless of their fame, is above the rules. The conversation surrounding the incident didn't stop there. Fans, analysts, and even coaches began questioning how the WNBA could improve its approach to player behavior and misconduct. Some suggested that the league needed to create more transparency in its disciplinary process, ensuring that all players, no matter their status, were held to the same standards. Others argued that the league needed to be tougher in its enforcement of player conduct, emphasizing that player safety and integrity should always come first. Whatever the outcome, it was clear that this incident sparked a much-needed conversation about the future direction of women's professional basketball and the necessary changes to create a fairer, more accountable league. For Jacy Sheldon, this controversy had become a defining moment. Her willingness to speak out against what she saw as an injustice not only raised important issues within the WNBA, but also gave a voice to many players and fans who had long been frustrated with the league's handling of misconduct. Her words might have stirred up controversy, but they also started a conversation that was necessary for the future of women's basketball. Ultimately, the WNBA chose not to reverse its decision regarding Caitlin Clark's punishment, but the fallout from Jacy Sheldon's public outcry had a lasting impact. The debate surrounding the incident sparked an ongoing dialogue about fairness, player safety, and the role of women's sports in promoting a culture of accountability. The WNBA was now under pressure to reassess how it handled player discipline, and the lessons learned from this controversy would continue to shape the league for years to come. Welcome to We're Part of Us. Jacy Sheldon's outburst may have been controversial, but it was also a powerful reminder of the need for fairness, consistency, and accountability in women's sports. Whether you agree with her stance or not, her actions forced the WNBA to confront issues that had long been bubbling under the surface. As we look to the future, one thing is clear. The conversation around player conduct and league accountability in women's basketball is far from over, and Jacy Sheldon's role in bringing these issues to light will continue to reverberate throughout the sport for years to come.